And here we are. G'day! Welcome to our Happy Flying live stream. This is the week number 7 in a row. Pretty excited to be here. But first things first, let's go through some of the technical things. I need to double check my audio. Let me know how it's sounding, because that seems to be one of the issues we have every single week. I can see a couple of people in the chat jumping in already. We got kids as well saying hello, hello, hello. Hopefully this is coming through right here. So let me know, fire that off in the chat. How is the audio? Because then I can proceed, talk about what we've got coming up. I want to give you a huge shout out. We've got Drunken Bullet. He's said he's pausing work. He's jumped off the roof and he's going to take a bit of a break to catch up on all things FPV. So thanks so much for being here, Drunken. I truly do appreciate it. Simon is saying audio is good. We got Kiz Bartlett as well. There he is, the man, the myth, the most FPV man in Australia, with a little bit of content editing right there. So thank you so much for joining. I hope you've had a fantastic week. We're about to get into it. We have some pretty cool stuff to talk about this week, actually. So we're going to be going through, if you're a new pilot, because I've noticed a lot of my people watching my videos are new subscribers or new people coming into FPV. We're going to be going through all about some pro tips on how to fly with others. You don't want to be that person at the park who's like, man, we are never flying with that person again. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that. We're going to talk a little bit about mental health. That is the reason why this stream is called Happy Flying. It's all about promoting positive mental health and some of the things around that, and having a conversation and being okay to speak about it. Like, it's not weak to speak. And yeah, I'm a big believer in just getting out there and being open about people's mental health and the struggles. And it seems to be something that the FPV community, some people do suffer through. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit as well. Very exciting. If you let me know what radios you guys fly with. However, for me, nothing beats this bad boy right here. Like, I've got all the radios, and I still keep coming back to the Pocket all the time. I really, really like it. We're going to be talking about this and some very exciting things for those Pocket lovers out there. We also need to talk a little bit about building your own. So if you are the sort of person, like, what is better? Are you going to be going bind and fly if you're looking to get into FPV? Do you just buy one ready to go out of the box? You want to build your own? What guide should be looking at? As well as some of the pitfalls that new pilots can make. And then finally, we'll wrap it up with some of the coolest videos of the week. I have a couple of bangers that I can't wait to show you. And then we need to talk a little bit about DIY FPVs, so some fairly exciting things there as well. I can see Johnny D. Let me know who's in the chat, who's watching. So the UAVFutures family, we've got a couple of regular members here as well. So Johnny D. RC wasn't here last week. It's great to see you back this week, my friend. Sorry you missed it last week. Kiz, of course, is in the chat. He's been here for a long time. A lot of these guys, if you are new or watching this stream, it's so nice that we have like I feel like a family vibe on this stream. Like, you guys, like I say it all the time, this is the best part of my working week, and to be able to be here, talk drones, connect with you absolute legends is yeah, it is the best part of my working week. So thank you so much, no matter where you are, what time it is. It is 10 o'clock here in Australia, but I think it's about late evening if you're in the US, and if you're in Europe, I'm really sorry, because I feel like it's the middle of night for you night owls out there. Okay, we've got some people talking about the radios as well. Drunken Bullet says Tango 2 for me. I need to update, I think, and that's a really good radio. The Tango 2 is probably, it would be up there with like my second favorite radio. It's mainly the form factor. It's doing a lot of things right. Like, it's got the awesome antenna. It's using TBS or Crossfire, which for a long time was like the best that we had. The Pocket is definitely, well, not only is it a lot cheaper, we'll talk about that a little bit later down the line in the stream, but yeah, it's a great option as well. But the Tango 2, if you've got it and you're happy with it, and you don't need to upgrade, you're not getting any fail safes or any dropouts, I would say this is something that I really believe in too, is you don't always need to get the latest and the greatest gear. So as long as it's working and you are happy with it, that is the #1 priority. The last thing that I want to do is for people to go out and just be constantly spending money and just to get the latest and greatest drones. Like, that's not what this is about. This is just about getting people flying. And if you've got some value gear that you like, there is absolutely nothing wrong with it. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. And we've got Kiz is saying it's 1 o'clock in the UK. The night is still long, though, the 1 a.m. I should say. And we've got Casper as well. He's saying he's new here. He bought the Pocket 3 weeks and a sim, hoping to get an unredeemed liftoff code someday. Okay. I see what you're saying. I thought you were going to say uncrashed. I can get you a SIM code, but it's not going to be for liftoff. Sorry, I don't have any liftoff SIM keys. I've sort of been trying to give out a bunch of SIM keys lately. I have a limited stock, and when I'm going back through my emails trying to find them, so I will do my best. I might even put some in the comments after this stream is finished, and you'll be able to. Do you have a SIM at all? Because any SIM is better than no SIM, and there's also some free ones out there, which I'm going to be doing some videos in just a little bit. And I wish I knew how to pronounce drones. I don't know if it's meant to be drones with a J and an R. I'm not too sure. But he's saying, love your show and your videos. I always try to watch your live. So thanks so much for tuning in, brother. It's just great to be here. Great to chat with you guys and hang out and talk all things FPVs. Week number 7, and it's going well. I like it. So, all right, let's talk about this one. So the first thing I want to talk about today, this is if you're a new pilot, you're coming into FPV tips, this is how you're going to go flying with others. This is going to make sure you get invited back, because the last thing you want to do, if you're jumping into the hobby, you're excited, you can't wait to get out there and fly, you actually meet somebody who's into FPV as well, which, look, it can be a little bit rare, where it's not like skating or car enthusiasts or things like that. If you're into FPV, it can be tricky to try to meet up with other pilots, which is something I'm trying to solve on DIY FPV anyway, links down below. But I'm going to give you some tips. So when you actually do meet up with some pilots, these are some things that you should do and some definite don'ts. And if you've got some tips, please too, throw them in the chat. Like, kids, when you go to a race, let me know what's something that gets you invited back. What's something that you sort of talk afterwards and say, man, that was difficult flying with that person. Right, the first one, I think, if you're a new pilot and you're going to meet up with other pilots, you need to ask yourself, why are you there? Like, what made you go to fly with those other pilots? If you are there just to show off, or just to make content, or to do some really crazy flying, you can do that by yourself. You don't need to be no one wants to see those sorts of show-off pilots and things like that, especially when you're going to like a first meetup or anything like that. So you really need to say, am I here for the right reasons? If I want to fly with other people, it really should just be like, it's fun. It's awesome being part of a group and part of a community and flying around. It's having a laugh and chasing drones and having a good time. It should be all about having a good time. And if you are a pilot who is negatively impacting the rest of the group because of that, maybe you're flying dangerously or doing some other things, if you're impacting on their fun, I know I wouldn't be you wouldn't be the first person that I'll be reaching out to invite back to. So I've flown with an awful lot of pilots. I've had pilots that are lifelong friends, and I've also had situations where I've flown with people and been like, I'm not telling that person where I'm going flying next, because that just totally ruined my fun day of FPV. That it was, sometimes you feel like you have to babysit them as well. All right, we have, so the first, okay, tip number 2, if you're a new pilot coming in, what you need to do, and I found this being the most like precursor to, man, I liked what that person did. Get to the flying spot early, and if they are doing something there, help them set up. Don't just be that person who rocks up, uses all the equipment, and then leaves. And this kind of goes for any sporting activity. How would you feel? Like, if you get there early, help them set up the gates, help them set up the flags. Maybe they've got like an area they need to rope off, or they've got some cones that they need to lay out, or mark some different spaces, or set up some things in the trees, or some gates, or whatever it's going to be. Help them do that. Always say, hey, can I help you carry anything from the car? Is there anything you need me to do? Do you need me to check your LiPo battery? Like, just be that helpful person, because that goes a long way. It sort of shows a bit of character as well of, oh, this person, they're here for the greater good of this little community, of this like little meet and greet and things like that. And that is a really important tip. So if I went flying with you and we were about to set up some gates and tracks and things, and you said, hey, how can I help? Like, yeah, that's a double thumbs up, right on your way to get inviting back. The next part is when, as well as helping set up, you need to read the room. And this can be a skill that I feel like older pilots, or the older generation, so sorry kids out there, but if you're a kid watching this, or a teenager, or a very young recent adult, I would say this is something that comes with a bit of wisdom. And look, I'm not totally grey in the hair, but I do have a couple of grey hairs, and I would say you need to read the room on what that community is like. If you're going for a meetup and some fun and you're flying around with other pilots, you need to see and do sort of the things that they do. If they are a really safety conscious group and they're like, hey, we're doing this, they don't want to see anything stupid, They don't want to, they're not like loud and boisterous and, hey guys, watch this, and sort of just stomping all over everybody, and just be respectful. It's kind of like if you went to a barbecue or a cook-up, you wouldn't just burst into somebody's kitchen for the first time, take over and say, hey guys, this is how we're going to do it. If you've been invited to an event or to something and you're the outsider coming in, you're a new pilot wanting to become part of a group, wanting to fly with others, you really need to read the room, and instead of trying to change the whole group to fit your dynamic, you really, as the outsider, need to fit in with and decide what they're doing. So if they're just into racing, you can still politely suggest, and there's nothing, you can still, of course, do a bit of freestyle, but don't try to change the whole track and make it a whole freestyle track. Don't try to change everything up just to suit your needs. So reading the room is absolutely important. Now, tip number 3 is if you are a new pilot coming in, the fastest way to never get invited back, and this is one of the most important ones, and I'm sure everybody in the chat can agree with this, don't be unsafe. Like, if you are an unsafe pilot, you are getting, you might actually get asked to leave. So that involves like flying really close to people. You are like actual pilots, like being dangerous with your craft, or thinking it's really funny to buzz somebody and do something a little bit dangerous. For me, that would be the fastest way that I would be like, I can't fly with you, mate. That's not safe. And it might not even be me. If I went flying somewhere, and chances are pilots can be pretty caring, or they have a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for, like a guardianship of the space that they're flying, because it's hard to find a good flying spot. We keep them not so much secret, but we don't want anybody to ruin it for us. So if you go to a really cool spot and you're that pilot that is then buzzing the offices on the other side of the road from the park, or you're flying over some cars or like under some trains or something, which is not in the vibe with the group, remember, you got to read the room and see, like, if everybody is doing that unsafe behavior, well, I guess if that's the group and that's the vibe that they're putting out, they're probably not going to kick you out for that. But for me, if I went somewhere and someone was jeopardizing people or jeopardizing the property around me or the drone, like our gear that we've bought, or just making it generally a nuisance, they're never getting invited back. Like, I'm not even to that spot. I'm not telling them where I'm going to go next. I'm just sort of basically going to cut all ties, because if you are being an unsafe pilot, it is just one of the worst things you can do in FPV. And I'm sure you guys can let me know, as well, like, if people go flying with you, or if Drunken goes flying with some other people. I know it's been a little while since he's gone flying, but there are some things that other new pilots might not be thinking of when they get there. This is kind of going in, this is not an unsafe tip, but this is tip number, I think we're up to like number 4. If you're an unsafe pilot, you're not going to get invited back. But one of the things you might not realize, because you've never flown with other people, that is unsafe, but could be a bit of an accident, when it comes to powering up your VTX. If you ever jump in and you power on your VTX, like if you're turning your drone on, and something like this, you might not realize because you've never flown with other pilots, but traditionally with analog quads especially, when you plug your drone in and the VTX is booting up and starting at its frequency, it can, even if you're on a totally separate channel, for the first time when it boots up, it can completely wipe out another pilot's vision. So one of the most important things that we do all the time, you always give a countdown, always a bit of that, just a bit of communication with other people to say, hey, I'm about to plug in, 3, 2, 1, or just double check, like, oh, hey, hey, B-Man FPV, I'm about to plug my drone in. Is that cool? Are you in a safe, stable hover or something? You definitely don't want to do that when people are racing around and screaming around or flying in a risky situation. You plug your VTX in when somebody's not ready, it stomps over their vision, they lose their drone, something breaks, it crashes into the ocean, it gets stuck in a tree. That's going to piss some people off, so you don't want to do that. The whole thing is about being part of a community, and I am sure they will appreciate it if you give those countdowns, and they're probably going to do that as well. They're going to reciprocate that back. So even if you're 2 new pilots and you're meeting up, both of you, for the first time, that's an absolutely critical step, which is not being unsafe, but when you might not know about it. So it's very important to do that, because we have learned the hard way. There's been many a times when I've invited people, I'll be testing a product or racing something around, and then all of a sudden, instead of like shooting this tiny little tight gap, I've got a picture of some bloke's face as he's plugging his quad in, and that's all I can see, and then the drone is lost. The last 2, this would come down to helping people. So if you want, oh, actually, I should say Kiz has a great part here, so thank you very much for this in the chat. He's saying one big thing, don't hog the channels. If you're sharing a channel with someone, be mindful that they want to fly too. Okay, this is really good. So this would go for more pilots than one, jumping on that VTX thing. If you have a lot of pilots together, you need to have, they will have a special way of organizing their flights. So, okay, we've got 6 channels open for today's race. If we've got 10 pilots there, people are going to need to double up. So you fly a couple of packs, let them fly a couple of packs. That's a great way to do things. Let them know when the channel is free and wait until the channel is free. Yeah, the last thing you want to do is stomp all over somebody else's flying. And it reminds me a little bit, like I used to play indoor soccer back when I used to be a little bit more leaner and less of a dad bod right here. But sometimes, like, there was 2 teams that we would play with, right? And one team was like more skilled, or they played in a higher rank, but I actually enjoyed playing on the other team as well. Like, I played in both these teams, and the one where I had the most fun with, people were subbing off all the time, and it was just like, okay, this person's in, this person's out, okay, you can go on for a run. And when I'd play in the higher skilled team, it wasn't nearly as fun, because if you got subbed off, you would have to wait, and nobody else wanted to come off. Like, there wasn't that team camaraderie or just having fun. So, and that's what it's all about. That's what FPV is all about. So yeah, don't hog the channels if you're flying with somebody else. That's a great tip that I haven't thought of too much, but it makes complete sense, because I fly usually with, like, just a handful of people, but that would be especially important at a big race event. They probably have some guidelines, I'm sure, as well. Just checking in with the chat. Let's see what they're saying. We've got Drunken Bullet saying, I have only flown with my brother-in-law, but we learned early on to have both drones on the ground when we're plugging in. Yes, that's usually how we do it as well. Or if somebody comes in for a gentle hover, and I'll just, like, if I'm flying around with Steve and he's doing something in the air, I'll say, hey man, I'm about to plug in. Bring your drone nice and close, because especially if they're a long way away, they're going to get interfered with it so much more than if they're close by. Ideally, take turns, but trying to chase each other is fun. I think, yeah, there's definitely, you can fly multiple people at once. Just don't kick them out of the air. We got Ibram. He's new to the hobby, guys. How many packs do you guys fly in a day? I will get to that in just a second. I want to talk about 2 last little tips, and this one is the last tip I would say of the day is you need to be that person too that helps pack up. If you go to a flying event and they have put flags and gates up and you have used them and you want to go back, don't be that person who just ducks out every time and goes early to the car. As well as getting there early to help set up, you should be one of the last people to leave, and it's such a good, like, this community is I'm all about helping people. And if somebody's like, hey Stu, do you need a hand to get this drone out of the tree, or get this, I'll pick up all the flags or all these cones or anything like that, it makes it so much easier when everybody works together. Like that saying, many hands make light work. And if you want to get invited back, make sure you're helping people, make sure you help set up, and make sure you're helping pack up as well. Don't be that person that ducks off. There's nothing wrong with ducking off early and saying, hey, look, I've got to go pick my kid up or whatever it's going to be. But if you're that person doing it consistently, it's going to get annoying, and you probably will get called out for it, because, and rightfully so, without these people, you shouldn't be taking advantage of other people's hard work. And the final, this is an extra little tip, which just goes that little bit more. If you want to fly as part of a group, part of a community, you need to maybe say, hey, can I help you out on the socials? Because FPV is such a social thing, like an online social thing, where they might have a Facebook page, they might have, I don't know, a YouTube channel or a Reddit group, whatever it is. Could be a Discord group, and say, hey, do you need a hand like that? Do you want me to scout some locations? Or you can send some emails and say, hey, here's a really good place that I've been flying. Like, share a bit of that information, help organize some things, and that is going to go a long way in creating a strong, tight-knit group. And if you're doing all those things, all those single steps that I just went through, like the 6 or 7 steps, that is such a good thing that you can do as a new pilot coming into the hobby that will bring you up to speed. And the most important part, it will get you invited back. Unless you want to fly by yourself forever, do those steps, and it's going to just go a long way. It's just about being a good, kind, considerate human being that's helpful. That's what people want to see. Don't be that person that goes there late, uses all their gear, takes over, stomps all over the channel, never helps pack up, and is totally obnoxious and unsafe. God, like, saying it like that, that is a surefire way to get kicked out. All right. The next thing, let's see, we got some people in the chat. We got Trey again saying, g'day. We got Rob Miller. He's saying it's Europe in here, Stuart. I'm not sure what you mean. uh, by that. And Thiago Smith is saying, if I ever go to Australia, I want to fly with your cruise stew. You always fly awesome tracks in the open field. We used to have a really cool place where we flew back when I lived down in Victoria, which is about 2,000 kilometers or 1,500 miles away. I flew that place so much. I knew every single like little tree, branch, stick, like the whole topography of the thing. And if you were an OG member, you might remember this because I haven't flown that place in like 4 years. It's sort of I think we started to annoy the people who lived across the road from the park because we were flying there so much. But the old school test track, so it was called the UAVFutures test track, and man, I could rip so many packs around that. Now we had a little, let me jump back to, I don't want to miss anybody's chat here because there was a good question from, let me see, it was about how many packs do I fly a day? Someone was, okay, so this one was from, I, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that. Ebrima, whatever, that gentleman there, EJ, Mr. EJ, he said, how many packs do you fly a day? So back when I was flying around the test track, at my peak, definitely peaked when it comes to my pilot skills, I was probably doing close to maybe 70 lipos a day, like 50 to 100 lipos in a session. And that was all it was. It was just like track flying, pack after pack after pack after pack, like just getting those lap times down. Things were a little bit different back then. Like I didn't have kids, I had heaps more time to do things. And nowadays, I will probably say I would take it. I fly for work most of the time, and I will probably get to do 2 to 3 packs for myself, just flying around having fun. And then the rest, like if I was just going out flying for fun, I'd probably take 5, 6 lipos. You know, go have a quick rip. If I was going to do a big day of it, maybe a little bit more. If though I'm flying around, I usually do like 2 or 3 for me, and then the rest just depends how much. Like if I got this quad, this wing, or this thing to test, they're all going to need their own individual batteries. But that's a little bit different because it's just me. I have to do that. Like that's so I can make this for you guys. He's saying, hey, can I buy the Cetus Pro? So is that the one that I reviewed right there? And Johnny DRC is saying that the UAVFutures test track is so cool. And he flies just for fun. Yeah, that's what it's best at. Like that's what I wish I could do all the time. Unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but that's just one of the things of making this my career. I do have to fly for work. Sometimes I've got like an awesome quad that I want to keep flying, but it's like, well, I still need to review this one as well. I still need to make those videos. I've got commitments to you guys. I've got commitments to the companies that send the drones over. Let's have a look here. The Cetus Pro and Cetus Pro FPV. That is this drone for anybody who is thinking about it. Let me get this on the screen for you guys. Let's go over here. And I'm sure chat will let you know this as well. I'm just going to see if I can move my face. Can I move this over just a little bit? Get this out of the way. Yeah, the Cetus Pro, no. Do not get this drone. I don't like this drone. Like it's 220 bucks for something you are not going to enjoy. You are much better off to spend a little bit more money. And what I actually would prefer to do here, I would spend, it's so, like, let me know in the chat what you guys would do. But for $199, you can get an actual digital pair of goggles, which are awesome. So that's the Cadex Walk Snail, those goggles L. You can get a pocket radio. So one of these bad boys for like, that's not going to come through, for like $60. And then I would just fly the sim. You're going to have such a better experience. If you spend your money on this, and I'm sure anybody else in here will be able to agree and back this up. If you're an experienced pilot, this is going out to the chat. If you're an experienced pilot and you're going to fly around and you're going to buy this, if you bought this at the start of your journey, would you be using any of this kit today? And I would say 9 out of 10 pilots are like, nope, I don't like that. I didn't like them when I reviewed them. The You, yeah, you guys are absolutely legends. Thanks so much. I don't know where I got to. Um, let's see. So Kiz is saying in the chat, yeah, if he got this, he's not going to use it. So if he started and he was still flying today, there's no one's going to be using this if they're serious about FPV. Please save your money. Um, and why I fly is saying, get your sound guy to work and fix this. There's no sound. Yeah, I'm the sound guy. We have been, look, I know Drunken Bullets, he's been helping me out a little bit. So thank you very much for his amazing donations. I'm going to be changing this up soon. I'm in the process, but yeah, you can see I've got like my wire sort of resoldered battery goggle here. The mic cuts out all the time. This piece is just like a loose piece of foam. Oh, so yeah, I know. Oh, hopefully the audio is back. Yeah, I do want to fix my audio. I know, guys. We're getting there. Okay, I'm doing the best I can. But I wanted to say thanks for being here. And Wi-Fi is saying you're good, and you couldn't hear for a minute. All right, Clifffield is saying I found the Tiny Hawk 2 kit was an excellent starting place as a non-sim guy. Yeah, the Tiny Hawk is okay. I feel like nowadays the real hard part is, do you just go that little bit more and get, like when I recently did the $400 starting video or something like that to get digital and a decent radio that you're never really going to need to upgrade, like that will be more than enough, although you just need to spend a little bit more to get the drone. And Matt saying, I didn't use a sim until I broke all my drones. Yeah, okay. Maybe you should have done that the other way around. Maybe you should fly the sim and then you'd break less drones. And Dave S is saying spend 600 for the Air 65, the Boxer, and the O4O Pro goggles. That's where I totally disagree, Dave. So can you talk a little bit more about the Air 65? Because a new pilot coming in, like that video that I did, get flying for 470 bucks, 480 bucks, you're getting digital and a great radio, like the Pocket, one of my all-time favorite radios, and digital, and a pretty awesome drone to go with that as well. Teleport FPV saying, hey Stu, stream looks good, sounds good, thank you so much. And let's say DVS is saying, I was in a toxic group and had to leave and create a new group to fly with. All right, it's probably a whole nother thing. You don't have to go back. So if you go and meet some people talking about new pilot tips and getting invited back and things, if you're in a group that's not cool and you don't vibe with and you don't gel with, you don't have to go there if you don't want to. Like this is just like best case scenarios and best practices, I guess, moving forward. He doesn't want digital. Okay, Dave S doesn't want digital. Fair enough. Now I should also mention too, my daughter unfortunately is still home sick today, so this stream I'm not sure how long we're going to run for. We still do have a couple of things to cover, but she's doing some tactical iPad time, as I like to call it as a parent. I heard that last week. So we're not going to be going for ridiculous amounts of time in this one. Okay. The next part, let's move on. I want to talk a little bit about mental health because that's what's happy flying. That's what this is all about. It's a great way to connect with people, and something that I think is really important I want to touch on this week is just having like positive people around you. Like we had that comment before saying I was in a toxic FPV group and I had to fly and create a new group. I had to go make a new group to fly with, and it goes sort of like that for everybody, because one of the things that I heard and I do believe in is you sort of become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time around. So if you are hanging around negative people or people that aren't really doing much or just aren't going in the same direction that you are, and you don't like the things that those people are doing, that's going to rub off on you. You're going to start to be like that. However, if you surround yourself with some really positive people or motivated people or whatever it is that you are into, if you are engaging with and interacting with those people more frequently, that's the direction that your character is going to become. And I feel like that's really important. So if you are struggling with your mental health, one of the things you can look at is, what friend group are you hanging out with? Who are you seeing? Maybe if you are stuck alone all the time inside and you're not getting out, you're not getting to vibe out with some friends and things like that, it absolutely 100% is not going to help. So as well as going to get some professional help, if you need to sort of take a step back, and I'm sure others can agree here, one of the most important and powerful things you can do is try and build those positive relationships in your life. Like, life is too short. You want to be with those kind, helpful people, and I feel like that's something that FPV is really good for. 9 times out of 10, pilots are really positive. It's just an amazing place to be, and FPV is one of the greatest ways for guys to get together, do a really cool hobby without getting too like it's not too confronting in terms of like, you don't have to talk about your feelings or anything like that, but just hanging out with some cool people that are like-minded and enjoy flying can do wonders for your mental health. All right, we've got Johnny DRC. He is saying he's been disabled in a wheelchair since he was 32. He has plenty of mental health, so he didn't finish that sentence. I'm not too sure what mental health issues or mental health resilience. I'm not too sure what we could add on right there. And EJ is saying, hi, UAVFutures. Oh, we're getting a lot of hearts in the chat, so I can see a lot of people spamming that. It seems like maybe that's you guys do agree. Like, what do you get out of it? What do you get out of FPV? Why do you do FPV? What's the reason that you do that? Please let me know, because I feel like, as well as like the fun, just the hobby itself, the positive impacts it has on my mental health and meeting really cool people and getting out and exploring cool places is second to none. It's one of the best ways and the best things that improve my life, and that's why I do your UAVFutures, so I can share that with you guys, so I can share that with other people. B-Man FPV, he's saying, like Bot says, FPV is friendship. Yeah, who would have thought, right? I would be. I call Bot Grinder one of my friends. I'd say, yeah, he's a mate. This like other punk-looking tattooed dude over in the States who I've never met in real life, but through the power of FPV, we're just friends. Like, we can hang out. That's what one of the coolest things about our hobby is. It's just an amazing way to do a cool hobby, meet cool people, and improve your life. So yeah, and thanks for being here too. I do really appreciate that. Wi-Fly is saying he's been building too much, flying, making videos, and already looking into getting into programming. Well, you can definitely don't burn yourself out. Remember, it's all for fun. That's the important part. Unless you're doing it for me, like work. I feel like I have a couple. There's not too many people though in the world that have to fly drones for work to make YouTube content. So you guys you get the best bits, really. That's the only difference here, is where I have to do it for work. You get to do all those fun times whenever you want, flying, having an awesome time. Okay. And Simon is saying, I bought a normal Cetus like a month ago. I got hooked and bought a SpeedyBee Master V2 on my first DIY build. Then I watched Drone Camps and snagged a Moz 7, I think he means Mob 7, from his live auction. Now Cetus is for sale. Yeah. Unfortunately, and fortunately that you've moved on and it did get you hooked. That's what I'm talking about, where if you buy that kit, you're going to need to upgrade. You're already looking to move to the next thing, where if you got the original part where I spoke about like the Goggles L and a pocket radio, you're set. You're golden. You don't need to do any of those upgrades. Okay, let's talk about this. Now this is pretty exciting. This is the Radio Master Pocket Crush. The Pocket is one of my all-time favorite radios, and this makes it even better. So let me jump over here to, I think this is the right button. All right, so the Radio Master Pocket Crush. We recently looked at the Boxer Crush, which was this one right here, and it's basically the upgraded version of the original Boxer. I really like this. This radio is, it's not perfect. I don't like the antenna, but it is pretty damn close. The Radio Master Pocket Crush, it's coming in some really cool colors, so this is going to be coming out. And if you notice the price too, it is only, let's see, 65 bucks, which I think is an absolute steal. My Pocket, I have put more packs through this bad boy than any other. It does come with some different color cases. It looks like this bad boy right here. It's got a whole bunch of different versions. I don't know, I kind of like the green one as well. I do have one of these coming for review, and I cannot wait. I think Radio Master, they've made some really good things, and some important parts to note though. Who this is for? It is a great value radio. It doesn't go up to 1 watt, so I wouldn't recommend this for long range, although I have not had any fail safes on my Pocket. Like, it's more than enough for the type of flying I do, and I fly a lot. For 65 bucks, it's ELRS. I like the antenna function. It does not have good gimbals in there for this price, but it looks awesome. It's, yeah, Dave S is saying $65, that is cheap. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. If you're getting into the hobby, you don't know what to get, this is basically a no-brainer. You can get this radio and never need to upgrade again for the rest of your entire FPV life. That's how good it is. You can also transport them down, so it would assume that it's going to be the same with this one. So in the back here, you do have some little stick ends. You can actually unscrew the sticks to make it for easy transport, but I find generally I never never need to do that feature because it's so small anyway. It's really easy. You can just throw it in your backpack. The antenna folds down. I can put my arm switch on the right. So if you're one of the weird people like myself, and not one of the strange lizard people out there, it's an absolute no-brainer. It'd be the radio if I started FPV and I wasn't doing it for a YouTube channel and I didn't need to do reviews or anything like that. I would buy this radio and be 100% happy never to have another radio again. There would be no reason for me to upgrade in the type of flying that I do. Of course, if you're doing wings or you're doing some extreme long ranges or you want to do some other strange functions, this might not be suited to you. But for the everyday, and I'm sure people agree, the everyday FPV drone pilot, whether that be racing or whether that be just doing some freestyle in the park, it's awesome. Now the best part, check this out. I've got these coming for review and I was very excited when I saw this. We have over here some gimbals. So these mini gimbals, I believe, will be able to go in the pocket. The AG01s are that's what makes this Boxer radio so good. Like these big full-size CNC gimbals in here, they are a pretty decent upgrade, and the more I fly with them, I do feel like it's hard to go back. And to be able to get these gimbals in something like this that fits in here, absolutely golden. Now, I wouldn't say these gimbals are for everybody. If you look at this, these are more expensive than the entire radio themselves. So to get these, I don't know which color I'd go for. I do really like blue. Fingers crossed that's the version that comes, because it would look pretty amazing to have blue gimbals. I'd probably deck this out as like a pink clear case. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked, but to be able to put those gimbals in a little pocket radio, I feel like I would then have the perfect radio. Besides, I don't do that much long range. I don't do that much wing action, but for my everyday flying, I've got my all-time favorite radio with the best gimbals on the market, and I will be taking that everywhere. I don't think I'd ever need to swap out again, so I'm very, very excited for that. However, I want to say for you people watching at home, or if you're watching this, you don't need to do this. I'm telling you right now, save your money. That $100 upgrade is absolutely not essential. You do not need to do that. I have an amazing 10 out of 10 time flying with this. This is just like a little bit of icing on the cake. It's sort of like, I'm trying to think of a good food analogy right here. Whatever I don't know, you're going to make a hamburger or a pizza, and then they're like, oh, by the way, you can have this little ingredient on the top. It's going to just add that little bit of extra finesse to it, and that's exactly what these gimbals are doing. However, it is expensive, so it makes sense for me. I fly for work. I fly all the time, but for an everyday beginner pilot, absolutely no way. Do not buy these as a beginner pilot, because that's one of the pitfalls I feel like that new pilots can get into, is buying the latest gear. You don't need it. Just stick with the standard pocket. However, if you love your pocket, you're getting a lot out of it. I am very grateful to have this option. So I don't know what colors you guys would get or what you would think. Drunken Bullet is saying he puts the arm switch on the right. Wow, I thought you were better, Stu. He joking, he's the same. Yeah, well, it just makes sense, right? Like, I can control let me jump over here. If your arm switch is on the right, that means I can still keep my thumb on the throttle and make sure that it is centered down. For me, in my type of, I guess I'm not, I just sort of disproved myself right there, but I don't know. I just feel like on the right makes so much more sense to me. I can entirely move this arm and take it off the radio to find the arm switch while keeping the throttle down. However, it turns out that's not the standard. I did a little poll, and like 73% of people put it on the left. Johnny DRC says he started with the Futaba, and Drunken's got a great analogy right here where he says it's like getting a cheeseburger, right? But then putting those gimbals in there is like just adding a little piece of bacon. Yeah, that's a cheeseburger with bacon. There we go. Now we're talking. I'm sure we guys can all appreciate that. Although that bacon is costing you $109.99, and it's bright blue and made out of CNC metal. But yeah. That's a great analogy right there. We've got Kizza saying, if you plan on showing anything on DIY FPV, just check the troubleshooting page before streaming. I've explained in the Discord, but I thought I'd give you a heads up. I just want to talk about a couple of things about DIY FPV in a little bit, but I do appreciate that, Kiz. Thank you very much. What I'm talking about today will be not so much about the site, but some other things we've been working on that I'm pretty, like some things in the background that I can't wait to show you and talk about in some stores and things like that. Okie dokie. AGO1 Nano CNC gimbals for pocket radio, regular price $59. Ah, okay, so wait, is it just these ones that are more expensive? Hang on. If I'm jumping here and I go to, maybe it's just the colored ones which are $109. This is making it even better. Where do we go here? Hang on, hang on. Accessories, mini gimbals. Okay, well, it's showing $99 on mine. I believe that that is US. I mean, for that price, I'm going to go. I'm going to go colors for like $10 more. But if that is Australian, I don't know if you guys can check this. Let me know what this says in the chat. I'm going to post this in the chat. Let me know, if you go to that page, what is the price of that? Because if it's $110 US, I was like, it's like a very expensive upgrade that I don't think everybody's going to do. But if that drops down to $60, it's like, it's still an expensive upgrade, but that is a lot better price. Surely it can't drop down to that much. I mean, it's not 2 to 1 when it comes to US. Somebody let me know in the chat there, please. Yeah, it's $10 for colored anodized ones. Oh, gold looks pretty nice as well. Maybe I just want blue because it's sold out and I'm getting like a bit of FOMO, but I think a blue mini gimbals with a pink case would look pretty amazing. Okay, moving on, let's jump over here. Now this I want to talk about, just looking at the time right here. So we're going to move on. I want to talk about when it is best to build your own, or when is it best to get a bind and fly, because nowadays I feel like we have more options than ever when it comes to building your own. Or should you just get like a bind and fly? They've got them everywhere. Every second shop that you ever go to online and looking at FPV, there is like always a section for bind and flies, complete drones. So we're going to talk about the pros and the cons of each. I do have right here. So recently I did the UAVFutures, I guess the not $99 build. This was definitely a premium freestyle build, and it seems like a lot of people have been enjoying it. I've been getting a lot of comments about it. This is like my go-to test quad because it's reliable. I know what it does. It works. It's been really durable. And I got to put in here exactly the things that I want. Now I'm going to jump over here as well. You'll be able to see this eventually on DIY FPV, and I did link it in as well as doing a build video, something that I was quite passionate about. I thought, you know what, I'm going to type this out right here. So we have like a whole bunch of instructions that goes through. I put quite a bit of work into this on like how to wire it up, what to do, things to work on, and then like some presets and different settings. And yeah, there's an entire guide here that I went through on how to put this drone together, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be the right choice for you. So, but some advantages of building your own, and let me know, did you build your own, or would you get one? If you were starting tomorrow, would you just get a bind and fly? Because bind and flies in the past, they were like something people turned their nose up at. It was like, oh, it was a little bit of elitism. That's never as good as something that you can build yourself. But in saying that, bind and flies nowadays are pretty kick-ass, and especially if you're getting like I feel like the smaller craft that you go, like down to micros, minis, and whoops, except for racing, like racing does need very specific things, it's getting harder and harder to find the differences between them. Like there's a couple of small nuances, but in no way does it make one better than the other. Now, a big part, I would say, a problem with bind and flies, or a benefit of building your own, is the amount of knowledge that you get. So if you are building your own drone and something breaks, you know exactly what to do to fix it. You can look at it and be like, oh, that's broken, or that receiver's burnt out, or that little wire's disconnected. I know how to fix that because I've put it together in the first place. But if you're the sort of person and you have a bind and fly and it might be one of your first drones, that can be a problem because you don't know what to do. Like you're like, okay, how do I fix this? It's like a whole nother headache and steps to get flying. And I feel like it is easier to start at the base and build something. It is easier to build a house than it is to completely revamp and renovate a house. So that's often why people don't understand why renovations can be more expensive than just building from scratch, because a blank, clean drone to start with is easy to work on. Trying to find the problem and having the knowledge to do that and be able to solve where that issue is in your bind and fly that you bought from a shop can be a little bit more tricky, and especially when you're a new pilot. Like I get a bind and fly, something breaks, I know how to fix it. I got 10 years of knowledge under my belt on how to do things in FPV, but if you're a new pilot, you don't have that. You're going to be frantically searching and being like, why does this light not turn on? And some of the questions I see can be like, I don't know how to turn my propeller, I don't know how to put my propellers on. It's like, man, they got a lock nut in there. Like you need to screw it down just a little bit more. Like if you're getting stumped on those things, bind and flies can be amazing to get you in the air, but when something crashes and breaks, and it will, don't sell yourself short, don't lie to yourself, don't kid yourself, you are going to crash. I crash all the time. Crashing is part of the hobby. You need to know how to fix it. Now, I recently got this. I want to open this as well and have a little look at this. So this is, Jace is saying, I do what I do because I break it down like one stew. I feel like that's a haiku or a rhyme right there. So this turned up. This is what made me think about getting some, or just a little pre-review once coming up. It has been a long time since I've reviewed anything from Newbie Drone. And where... I need some way to open this up. What have I got here? It looks like I'm just using my finger. So we got this the other day. This is like a little bind and fly kit, and this is going the extreme as well. Like you can get bind and flies, you can build your own, or you can get complete ready to fly kits. Now the problem with a ready to fly kit is it's even less information that you're going to have. Excuse the crinkling here. And if my, oh no. Okay, sorry about that terrible cellophane noise. For some strange reason, it looks like our viewers went up just as we're opening and some cling wrap film. But okay, opening this up, this, whew, man, just me, or is that a massive headset? I feel like that's going to get heavy on my face. Oh, you seeing that? I didn't expect that. Like, okay, I'm a little bit confused here. That's the screen, but they're also storing the drone in there. Wait, what is going on here? Has anybody used one of these before? I was not expecting that at all. I've got 4 spare batteries. I've got my little drone. Okay, it's a Whoop. Okay, this comes out. I have to admit, I do like that. That was kind of cool. I was not expecting that. Okay. These feel very cheap in terms of the plastic that I'm putting on my face, and that can be a problem too with a lot of bind and flies or ready to fly kits. You are paying a lot for a kit that works where you don't get to choose the parts that you want. Like if you go a complete build your own set, build your own everything from scratch, it's amazing. You get to choose everything, you know how it works. But when you buy a bind and fly, you get lumped with, you only have limited options. When you get a ready to fly, like these goggles, I haven't flown them, I don't know what it's like, but the feeling of them, like I just get that cheap sort of feel. So you're paying a lot for the convenience to get up and get flying, and you're also sacrificing a lot. Now look, it's going to be right for some people. Some people, they're going to be like, man, I lucked out. That's going to be exactly what I want. However, for a lot of people, I feel like when it comes to especially a ready to fly kit, there's going to be some issues that they come across. And for a bind and fly kit, it's the difference between the two is getting closer and closer now. It's just all about knowledge versus convenience. That's really what it comes down to and what it's best. I would recommend, honestly, if you are getting a bind and fly and you're a new pilot, there's nothing wrong with getting a small bind and fly, but if you're a pilot who wants to get a larger drone, doing a scratch build and building your own, like if it's a 5-inch or a freestyle, that's going to be a lot better because you're going to break those freestyle ones a lot more. If you get a Whoop, they're relatively simple. If you're building one of these, knowing how it's put together exactly and having just that knowledge bank in your brain of how to fix it is really important because you're going to be flying these in tougher places as well. Let's see, Newbie Drone guy, this is from Nice FPV saying, guys, what if your Whoop lives in your goggles? Yeah, I feel like that's like a marketing thing, although it is pretty cool to be able to put it in there, like if you've got that space. And Jake is asking, Stu, what happened with Rotor Riot and how come they don't do Dubai drone races anymore? So I feel like, unless I'm just commenting generally here, So maybe the Dubai drone races was like almost 10 years ago. It was like something that some people got together and went, yeah, let's do a drone race. And it wasn't a fully fleshed out or thoroughly planned idea for a future of drone racing. It was just a fun event. They threw some money out and it got together. That's probably why they don't do that, because the market, the things have moved on, different things have happened. The people here now, it's a little bit like skating when it comes to FPV. If you, when I was growing up around 2002 or 2000, around the early 2000s anyway, skating sort of exploded. And then, like today, skating is still around. It's still enjoyed by lots of people worldwide, but it doesn't have that mainstream media culture explosion behind it. So the same things I feel like happened with drones around 2017. As far as Rotor Riot, look, I don't want to throw shade on anyone. That's definitely not what I'm about. I'm all about positivity. Maybe if you're thinking of like what Rotor Riot was around when those drone racing things were happening, well, they're a business. They pivoted into I don't know, like it's just maybe not as genuine as it used to be. Like it was just a bunch of guys. You really got that feeling of like, hey, we've got a camera. Let's go film this fun thing and do some cool adventures that are pretty cool, rather than just someone screaming at the camera over flying a drone into a pinata or something, or trying to sell you something. I definitely feel like the commercialization of their store has been their driving focus, where back in the day it was like, let's make some really cool content. Like that's what was important. Nowadays it's more like, let's sell you some $500 secondhand 4-year-old fat sharks and tell you you're getting a good deal. Which kind of brings me on to the biggest mistake new pilots make. So this is something I want to talk about. It's vitally important. Looking at the people coming into my channel, the views, the subscribers, and all those things, a lot of people are new to FPV, and I feel like it's my duty to let them know these are some massive mistakes that you are going to make. And just talking about what we talked about in the stream with Rotor R selling you gear, that is one of the biggest things. That you can still get good gear from them, but that is one of the biggest mistakes. So these, I would say, are my 5 tips for new pilots coming into the hobby and mistakes that you want to avoid. Drunken Bullet is saying, I flew whoops, then I built a 2-inch was a year before the 5-inch build. They intimidated me till I flew one. Yeah, 5 inches can be a little bit scary. I'm sure there's some innuendos in there. Okay, so the first problem I think a lot of new pilots make, you see something online like, man, that FPV, it looks so fun. I want to jump in, I want to do that. And they are rushing to go out and fly. And they don't understand the respect and the care that you need to have with these crafts. Like these mini flying blenders, they can do a lot of damage, not only to themselves, to a lot of people. So if you're a new pilot and you're coming in, do not rush to get out there and fly. You need to get on the sim. You need to spend a lot of stick time just understanding how to control the drone. It's like if you're going to get a license to drive a car, you start off very slow and a lot of hours. And there is driving simulators. You have driving school instructing teachers that teach you, turn left here, turn right there. The same thing happens with this. Now, if you don't have a sim, one of the other ways that you can do it, which wasn't really available when I started, was you can fly around with a tiny little whoop, or a whoop size drone. You are still going to get the same stick like movements. You're still going to get that muscle memory. You're still going to learn how to set drones up, and those sorts of things that go together will be the same as this on a larger 5-inch craft. But this, it is a lot safer. It is a lot cheaper. A sim is safer again, and even cheaper than one of these things. And you need those skills. Like, in order, don't sell yourself short, or don't kid yourself, I should say. If you're a new pilot, thinking that you're going to be able to rip around a racing freestyle drone because you're good at video games or good at something, it's not going to happen. Okay, I'm telling you now. I've tried to teach some people, like even my own nephews, like, yeah, I can do that. No way. It is so much harder, and people can put that in the chat. You don't have these skills. It's like learning to ride a bike if your bike had 4 axes of movement and was inverted upside down and spinning around, and you have a visor over your face. Like, that's how tricky this stuff is. It is nothing like a normal drone out there. So you need to understand. You need to take your time to learn how to fly these. Now, one of the other big problems is they will see something online and they will think, man, I can see what Mr. Steele's doing. I want to fly like that. So they rush out and they believe this is what they have to buy. They need a 5-inch. Not everything else like that. I don't want to fly a sim. I don't want to do that. I'm going to go and buy a 5-inch as my first drone. Now, what is wrong with that? It's expensive. It's more dangerous. It can hurt people a lot quicker. This can do some serious damage to some property. And they are, I would say, arguably harder to fly. You need to get more specified locations. You just can't fly these near people. Like, you need to treat this with respect, and thinking that you're going to be the next Mr. Steele, you might be one day, but it's not why you're here in a new pilot stage. You need to learn, respect the quad, and there is nothing wrong with going a smaller quad like this, or like the Mob 8, even like the little Lightnings that I got. You can still have an absolutely amazing time just flying some of those smaller crafts. So it is not 5-inch or bust. It's not 5-inch or nothing. Get one of the other crafts first. If you are a new time pilot and you're jumping into FPV, that is a mistake you're going to make. If you buy a 5-inch as your first drone, I am telling you, that's wrong. That is not how I would do it. And what do I know? I've been here for 10 years. It's my job. I love FPV. I want you to have the best time that you can. You need to have a little bit of discipline and think, okay, yes, I want to be Mr. Steele. Yes, I want to fly around 5-inch drones. I want to do some crazy freestyle things. But that's not where you start. And you are kidding yourself, wasting your time. Oh, okay, audio's cut out. We are back now. Now this, I'm going to move on to the next part. So tip number 3, if you're a new pilot coming into the hobby, you do not need the latest and greatest. I am here right now as a review channel who reviews new products all the time. I cannot stress this enough. You do not need the latest and greatest. You do not need the AJ1 gimbals. You don't need the most expensive radio. You don't need I don't know, what's a really amazing drone that's come out recently from a okay, you don't need this build. You don't need my premium freestyle build drone to start. Yes, it's an amazing craft, but please save your money. You don't need to get the latest and greatest to get flying and having fun, because if you do, you are, in my opinion, wasting your money. You are so much better suited to choose the value range of things, and I feel like that is ultimately where it comes down to getting you the best bang for buck, where you can really enjoy the skies. And for me, things like, and I keep coming back to it because I truly believe in it, a pocket radio, right? Great. 65 bucks. You don't need if you're a new pilot coming in and you're like, and I feel like this is especially teenagers that this is I'm talking to here, or new kids coming in, because I see it time and time again in my Discord. Here's what I'm going to get. They're going to get these because they really want these AJ1 gimbals. What for? I barely have the skills and the use to put these in. It's only as I do this as my job that I can justify this is what I'm going to fly with. Plus, it was sent for review. But if I was going to buy them, even I'd be like, okay, all right, yeah, all right, I'll get that because that's how much I fly. If you're someone starting FPV and you're thinking about getting the most expensive gimbals, you're being dumb. That's 100% how I believe. That's what I'd tell my kid. And that probably goes for any hobby. You don't need all the latest and greatest stuff. It comes to goggles. The goggles L. Do you want to buy the latest HD $0,000 things? Well, why? Like, you don't need to do that. I can't stress that enough. And this also brings me on to this point where I talk about your goggles and your drone. Goggles and your radio, this is tip number 4, are the most important part. Sorry, blah, blah, blah. This is tip number 4. Goggles and your radio are the most important parts of FPV. I know we call it drone racing. Guess what the least important part is when you're flying around? And new pilots get this wrong all the time. It's drones. If you go out and you spend all your money on a premium UAVFutures freestyle build, great, fantastic, but you are flying around with the most budget, basic, cheap headset, or the most budget, basic, cheap radio in order to get you in the skies, you're selling yourself so short. This inevitably is going to crash. You're going to fly this when it's going to crash. It will break one day. That's just what part of FPV racing is. You need to know, or FPV drone racing is. You need to know how to fix this. Your goggles, on the other hand, if you look after them, they're going to last you for the lifetime of your hobby, which is why it is so important. Spend your money on your goggles, on your radio. The drone is the last thing, because I'm sure you can let me know in the chat as well, how many times have you seen people saying, newcomers, I'm going to get this, they'll list a bunch of things, and then they'll put this amazing, expensive Mr. Steel Super Freestyle drone as their first drone build with Super T motors in there and LEDs all over it. I'm just like, what are you doing? You you should spend more on your goggles. Yeah, there needs to be like a rule, like whatever you spend on your goggles and your radio needs to be more expensive than your drone. Like, how insane is that you would spend more on one drone than you do on the things that are on your face and on your radio? It just totally baffles my mind. So they're investing in the wrong areas, if it asks me. The next part, I want to say, if you're a new pilot coming into the hobby, one of the mistakes is you need to learn. You need to be respectful. You need to understand how dangerous these things can be. Like, it takes years to learn to fly this. So if you watch a freestyle video, you go out and you get it. Okay, you've got a 5-inch drone. You go and rip somewhere that these things can turn south so quickly. They don't have any GPS rescue. You can honestly injure somebody. And I'm going to talk about my inexperience here, right? When I first built my drone, there was no FPV community. People didn't know what we were doing, right? I was trying to look online, and I thought I can fly this. Before my FPV gear turned up, I got my drone. It was bound up to my old school Taranis radio, and I thought I'm just going to do a bit of line of sight out in the park. I went to the park. It was behind the house I lived in about 10 years ago, and this is quite dangerous, actually. I'm flying it, and it started drifting away, and I'm doing it line of sight, and thankfully it was in self-level mode, and the drone kept going further and further and heading towards a busy road more and more, and I'm starting to freak out. I'm doing this thing where I'm walking towards the drone with the radio, praying that that's somehow going to get it back, and that's going to make a difference. Thankfully, I managed to orientate myself and get my brain wrapped around, okay, it's coming close, it's coming, okay, I understand now, this is what I'm doing. But I swear, it was very close to going over a road, and as a new, inexperienced pilot, like as soon as that landed, I picked it up, I went inside, and just the nerves and the anxiety that I got from that was a lesson I learned very quickly, and I'm trying to teach you that lesson. They are and can be a danger if you don't know what you're doing. Like any tool, anything can be dangerous. You don't just pick up a circular saw or a jigsaw or a welder and just go, putting the battery in and go on ham. You need to treat it with respect. You need to learn what you're doing. You need to learn that skill, which is why I'm saying stick to the smaller craft first. Stick to the sims first. It is, if you go and do it any other way and you go to a busy place with a 5-inch and rip it around, you're being absolutely stupid. That's my 2 cents right here. You will get a scolding from me. If I was your teacher and I was a school teacher for 10 years, there is no way I would put a 5-inch drone in some new pilot's hand and say, go for it. Just go see what you can do. I don't care if you've seen freestyle drones online. I don't care if you've seen Mr. Steele's best freestyle video of 2024 or whatever it's going to be. He'd been doing it for 10 years. You haven't. You're a new pilot. Respect the craft, respect what you're doing, be safe, and then you can enjoy it. When you get there, that's fantastic. It's going to make it even better. But trying to rush it and being impatient is just stupid. There you go. You're being dumb if you're going to do that. And then the last little tip that I would give new pilots, and this is really important, and I need to even myself reflect on this, is focus on fun, not content. I know you see YouTube videos of people making cool drones. I know you're excited about it. That's what got you into the hobby. You can't wait to get out there and make some really cool things. This hobby, it's best when you are flying around, having an awesome time. If you are worried about having the camera on, getting the perfect shot, it is just detrimental to what you're doing. Now, I'm in a different situation. I need to make great content to help people get flying, but if this wasn't what I was doing as a career, as a job, and I'd thank you if you'd like to support. Patreon is down below. It would be greatly appreciated. It's harder than ever to make FPV videos as your primary source of income, but people need to understand, focus on the fun. That's what it's all about. That's where this hobby is at its best. It's like if you went out to a restaurant and you were going to order an amazing meal, and it's like it's coming out and you can't wait to eat this. It tastes so good. It's your favorite super steak, whatever it is, okay? It's one of your favorite meals, but then you spend 20 minutes taking little Instagram photos of your meal that you've made. It's going to be cold by the time you eat it, and you've missed out the best part of it, which would be enjoying the actual thing itself. And that's the best part of FPV, is enjoying the skies, is flying around, is hanging out with your mates. And if you've got the camera rolling all the time, put it down. I even need to reflect on that myself, and I understand it's a different situation, but that's how you can get the most out of this hobby. Focus on the fun. That's what it's about. So there's my tips for if you're a new pilot coming in. There's some things to avoid. don't spend too much money on the drone itself. Your goggles and your radio should come first. Respect the craft. Learn, please. Be safe and just go and have fun. You know, you don't have to be Mr. Steele tomorrow. You don't need Mr. Steele's gear tomorrow. You just need to fly and safe and have fun. And if you want to move there in the future, you can. All right, man. I feel like I just gave a lecture or something like that. Hopefully that didn't come across too harsh. Cliff is saying, I'm happy to fly by myself. Helps that everyone hates me. Well, I don't hate you, Cliff. I'm so glad that you're here. And why is saying I do more sim time than actual flying? Kids are saying my Sky Zone O2Xs are still going strong after all these years. It's seen countless quads through to the end. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, those were good goggles. You spent money on the goggles. I bet you those drones you started with when you're flying, when you first started flying, are not flying anymore when you got your Sky Zones, but your Sky Zones are still working today. Okay, man, I can't believe the time. My tactical iPad time. I'm feeling a bit guilty now as a parent. I'm going to quickly show you some of this. So we do this each week. These are some of the coolest Reddit or little clips that I want to show you. Moving on to the greatest fails, the coolest videos in RC of the week. I only have a couple to show you, which is good, looking at the time. Conrad is saying we love all your vids. Thanks very much, brother. I really appreciate that because I really try. I hope that comes through. I'm just like you guys in the park, flying around, having fun with my mates, except I film it. And then I get to bring you along. So I hope I capture that. And Steve, like if you ever see him in the chat, or Stickman Steve, hopefully that comes across, because I don't want to make it out like I'm a know-it-all. I don't want to make it out like an elitist, you've only got to fly the best. I am just a normal, everyday guy who likes flying these things around with his friends in the park. I was a school teacher for 10 years, you know. It wasn't some high-paid, super ridiculous job with all the cash in the world. And I think back to that and I think, you know what? What would I like to spend my money on? What information do I wish somebody told me when I was starting the hobby? And that's what I want to give you. So hopefully that comes across in the videos. All right, we're going to look here at my Reddit in review. This one was pretty amazing, actually. Let's have a look. And it's called, How is this thing not broken? Now look, this is actually in RC cars. This is really cool. It's not every day I show you an RC car video, but you'll want to see this one. Okay, here we go. Let's press play right here. I'm going to check my audio. Check, 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 check. Yep, if I do that every once in a while, I think it saves it. But this is called How Is It Not Broken? And I don't know, so this person just absolutely barreling their RC car around. This is where they wish this was a drone. Like, what they're doing with this RC car, it looks amazing. And then this is really cool because that one actually drives up the tree. They do that one a little bit later where they actually get some traction and take it up there. But yeah, the suspension on this thing is next level. And I have to admit, this made me want to get an RC car to be able to do this. I'm going to guess that that's probably a nitro one, maybe. But look at this, like it actually drives up there. It almost looks like Rocket League or something, driving on the roof or the ceiling, but really, really cool. I don't think I've seen an RC car video that is like FPV like this. So I don't know what you guys think, but it's like someone says, send some kangaroo over to America, we're hungry. Okay, this thing looks like a kangaroo jumping all over the place, but yeah, really, really cool there. Moving on, I'm going to have a look. This is the next one, and I think we got sent this one by Stickman Steve. Bear with me. Just got to double check here because that fool uses Facebook. But how do I pause this? Can you I've got to find out. I don't want to give it away what's going to happen here. So, let me just pause this. What we've got. So you might have seen this one. This is about a drone's nightmare. So we've got this little drone right here that is in the middle of this racing track and some cars are going along. I think I can put the sound on for this one. Oh, that made me laugh when I first saw that. I thought that was pretty cool. Okay, yeah, the drone's worst nightmare. Some nice little editing right there. What do we got here, Steve? What was this one as well he sent me? Oh, okay, this is next level as well. So we have, I'm going to leave the sound off. I don't know what's the deal with this one, but if I go full screen here, this is like, look, hang on, look at this for a takeoff for some RC planes, a backwards takeoff into, I don't even know how they're doing this. I can't even fly a wing as it like out in the field very well, let alone somebody with the skills like this. So this, I have to say, it almost doesn't look real. Like the pilot here and the skills needed to fly a craft like that inside. Hats off to him because it is really, really cool. That'd be great too. To imagine able to take that to like a school and show some kids some RC things and to be able to have that skill to be able to pull that off. I don't even know how you would learn to do that. Obviously, it looks like a specialized craft here. Like it looks really thin. It looks like this might be what it's made for. It's just stopping it on a dime and I think almost landing exactly back where he took off as well. Perfect. Perfect. 10 out of 10. All right, and let's see. I think I'm going to pause that there because the last thing I want to talk about, I want to talk about DIY FPV in just a little bit. I know I'm also conscious of the time. I feel like I've gone over by half an hour in this, so sorry about that. Thanks for everybody who has been there. Check this out though. And on the chat, people are saying inspiring flight. Johnny RC is saying we did this in the 90s. And X86 is saying I got the Avata 2. I killed it for 48 hours and absolutely got another drone. Do you mean like you got rid of your DJI drone and got a real FPV drone? And I'm not saying that as like an elitist way. Like just welcome to a hobby where you can have so much more fun than just the Avata 2. Ultralight Action, Vifly is talking to Kevin, and Dave S is saying I'm like that with takeoff. Okay, I want to talk about this for a little bit. So, if we go here, DIY FPV, if you don't know about it, it is going to be the one-stop shop for everything related to everything FPV, like all your products in one place, all the stores all over the world, being able to map and meet up with other pilots, having builds and guides and communities. It's like the amount of work that is going on right now is next level. I have never been so pumped for a project, and to see it sort of taking flight and you guys are joining in and the positivity as well on the things that we're building. But I want to talk about some of our favorite stores. So one of the things we do differently on DIY FPV is we actually have like a back-end integration. It's not just scraping all the data from the stores to collate it. We're doing some really cool things behind the scenes with the stores themselves, actually partnering up with them. And I thought, well, what are some of the stores that we haven't really spoken about, you might not know about too much, because we do have Get FPV, we do got Race Day Quads, like people like Emacs and those things. Like we just had an email from CADX yesterday where I had them, but you might not know some of these other stores. So this is this week's, and it feels like every week we are getting more and more stores on board, more and more people exciting, which is great for you guys because you are going to be seeing more and more things in the catalog, more like building that ultimate one-stop place for everybody to get together. So recently, Rect, we just got them set up and integrated. They've got some really cool things, and I have to say, I can't be prouder to have these awesome stores online. It's not just, and this is what I got to say too, if you're a store owner seeing this, it's not just for the biggest stores out there. Like this is for everybody. It's for everybody, whether you're a large store or a small store. It is for everybody, whether you're just an everyday pilot, whether you're a pro pilot, whether you just want to fly for fun, whether you want to make content. Like DIY FPV is for everybody. So we've also got, who we got? Unmanned. So this is a big shout out to Kiz. We got back and we've been chatting to them. Their integration, they're doing some things a little bit differently. So we've got theirs set up. That's in the works too. I do need to shout out to Mantis FPV because I feel like one of the things of being an Australian, I know most of the stores in Australia, like we've got Phaser, we've got Next FPV, which I actually had a phone call with Next FPV and was like, hey man, and had a chat to Rob, so the owner of Next FPV. We've got Rising Sun, he's already integrated. So the Australian stores we're getting really close to being able to have everybody in one place, and I'm really, really excited. So I do need to give a shout out to Mantis because I need to email them. Actually, that's somebody we don't have. We have Fly High FPV, so if you haven't checked out their store, definitely go and do that. Be able to see all these coming up on DIY FPV, but just going through these, I'm quite proud to look at the work we've done in the background because it also means we can do some really special things in the future. And I want to get like, it's not just for US. Like, I need to make that clear as well. It's not just for Australia, because I feel like Europe is somewhere often that gets overlooked, even though most people in Europe are probably asleep right now. US has a lot of options. You know, like, I did send an email to, I haven't heard back from these guys actually, so I need to check out on 533 or 533. I'm not sure how you would pronounce that. But another one in Europe, or I guess if anybody has checked this place out in Germany, I have to say that N Factory, so a shout out to Ray from the guidebook, he said he ordered this and 24 hours later he got his stuff. So that's pretty cool if you're in Europe. And I would like to learn more about the Europe market as well, because there's a big audience over there. There's different things with rules and regulations and those things, and it's often something that I feel like the community as a whole doesn't really focus on. Everyone always knows Get FPV or Race Day Quads or those, you know, and some other big brand manufacturers like Emax or Radio Master. But giving people a chance to see these other options we've got out there, I think is really, really important. So that's what we've been working on, DIY FPV. Cliss is saying it's almost like this is an endorsement for your likability. My likability? I'm not too sure what you mean right there, brother. So yeah, in the background, I have never written more emails and had more meetings and been on the phone and chatting than I think I have this week. And the best bit, it's so passionate. So if you want to know more about DIY FPV, the website is going to be linked down below. We're looking at early access coming up in a bit, which I can't wait to get you guys involved with, because I want to do some things special, because you've been here. You've been here from the start. You've signed up. So I want to maybe have, I don't want to say too much, but like, we're going to be able to hopefully have some things where we can run some competitions and be like, hey, who could do this, and give some things back to you guys as well, because I do want to say I appreciate it. It's been a passion project of mine and Tom's as well, the other co-founder of DIY FPV. We're really excited about it, and to have your amazing feedback has been, it's not, and not just positive feedback, like critical feedback and analysis as well. We are building the single best FPV site online for everybody, made by pilots, for pilots, no matter where you are, what you're doing, be able to connect and be part of a community, learn, share. Just, it's very, very exciting. So look, that's what I wanted to say, a little bit of a sneak peek of some things we've been working on behind in the scenes. Thanks so much for tuning in. I do need to go and check on my daughter, because it's been over an hour since she's had her tactical iPad time, which is my new favorite saying as a parent. Thanks so much for everybody who tuned in. It's the best part of my working week. I can't wait to see you. We've got some really cool videos coming up that I needed to stop talking about it, because like, I could go on about, I've got a whole whiteboard downstairs that is some really cool things. I think some of the most fun videos we've ever done. So you're going to be seeing that with Stickman Steve as well. You guys are absolutely amazing, and I will see you in some videos. And also make sure you click that little like notify button, so we can catch up every single week, every time, this time next in 7 days. All right, catch you then.